It's a story that sounds like it came from a Hollywood movie, but this one is true. A man locked up for 20 years for a crime he did not commit, and now he's free. Did you ever think you would get out?
You know what? I did, man. That's the bizarre thing about it. I don't know when or how, but I knew deep down inside that someday I would be free.
Frankie Carrillo is enjoying life as a free man. He recently was released from prison after being locked up for 20 years. Charged with a murder he did not commit. There was a drive-by shooting back in '91. Witnesses said it was him. At the time he was 16 years old and was at home with his dad. He explains.
Overzealous police work led for the wrong guy to be identified and eventually wrongfully convicted. Happens to be me.
How did the trial go? How did they find you guilty? Since you said I wasn't there, it's not me, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Obviously I was a juvenile, tried as an adult. Just drugged through this whole entire system. Had 2 jury trials. First trial was a hung jury. Second trial they found me guilty. Frankie and his family and the neighbor, or these 6 eyewitnesses who are all saying Frankie's the guy. And obviously the jury believed them, not me.
Even though they were lying and...
Yeah, you know, they were lying, they were mistaken, they were inconsistent. There was no physical evidence other than just my story versus their story, but you know, tragedy occurred. You know, the judicial system makes huge mistakes, and my case is one of them.
There are terrible things that happen in jail.
Right.
What's the craziest stuff you've seen or witnessed?
You know, in 20 years, man, other than just the actual physical violence, because at some point you get jaded to that, it doesn't really affect you anymore. Someone getting stabbed or even killed. But I think that the tragedy that I would see time after time was literally dudes giving up. Dudes that were in prison, men, grown men who had been sent to prison for whatever amount of time, had just given up on their life. Had been so overtaken by the experience that they just quit living, man. Just like The Walking Dead. So when you see that seems to me the most tragic experience that any man can witness.
In the summer, it's boiling hot. In the winter, it's freezing. How do you do that for 20 years when in your mind, Frank, you know you're not supposed to be there? And you're like, it's freezing, it's snowing outside.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because now we're talking about the actual physical trauma, the physical pain. Part of it you have to just block it out. Part of it you have to just fool yourself that it's all going to be okay. But when you're shivering and you're out there in the cold and the rain, you have to just have that internal fire, man, that just can't go out. It doesn't matter if it's hot, cold, you know, you have to have 73 degrees at all time inside, man.
So you're fighting to survive yourself, you're fighting to survive against the people around you, you're fighting the system. You have 500 battles going on that one would be enough for every person.
Right.
And you beat them all. You beat the system, you beat the odds, you won.
I did, man. I did. And it feels great. It feels great. You know what? I've always been a huge fan of boxing, man. You know, from way back when my dad would watch or go to Vegas and watch Sugar Ray Leonard or other great fighters, man. Cesar Chavez and De La Hoya and a bunch of other guys who I admired. But you know what? It's easy to see someone in the ring and criticize and say, oh man, he should have did this or he should have did that. But until you're in the fucking ring yourself, man, when you're the guy that's in there battling, just admire the fight, man, and respect what was going on and applaud when need be, man. And I think that right now, you know, I've been victorious in my life. You know, it's been a hard fight, but here I am, man.
You feel like a world champion now?
I think I do, man.
On the one hand, in jail, they respect someone, respect, quote unquote, it's not respect, who committed a violent crime,
right.
Murdered, they're like, look up to you almost.
Right.
On the other hand, you were innocent. Right. So did they look up to you, or did they think you were crazy? Because you kept saying, I didn't do it.
Right. You know what? It's that's a good question, man. I think they respected me for the person who I was, who I'd become, and not necessarily why I was there. Prison, like in many places, even society, there's a group of people who prefer to judge you not on what you say but what you do. The conduct of your character, and I think that mine was one that just automatically just brought that respect.
So what advice do you have for people watching this and they have a loved one, or they're even locked up, or how could they do what you did? How could they get out if they did a crime if they're accused of a crime that they did not commit, Frankie? What advice do you have for them?
You know what? I think the ultimate advice that I can give someone in my shoes is believe in yourself. Understand that the opponent is someone very, very large and out of your weight category. The system, literally, maybe the judicial system, the sheriffs, the police, witnesses, and so on. But believe in yourself and know that be consistent with what you believe. Be consistent with the truth, and don't give up. They want you to give up. The system is designed for you to collapse and just lay down.
It's designed to break you.
It's designed to break you.
Physically and mentally.
Oh, absolutely, man. So I think that the battle, the fight is multiple. There's multiple attacks here, but one has to be that you have to have at least some internal fire within you that'll keep you alive, man.
Speaking of which, there's a story in the news right now. Brian Stahl, a Giants fan, was at a Dodger game. Police arrested this gentleman named Giovanni Ramirez, accused him of doing it. Everybody was so happy to announce it. Now they announce, we have a few other suspects. And the original guy, Giovanni's going to be out of jail. When you heard about that story, did that ring a bell?
You know what? It's a tragic story. I was there the day after. I was there that was opening day. I was there the following day with my son and my family. And so it was something that I'm a big Dodger fan, so it was close to my heart, man. And the fact that someone was violently attacked anywhere, man, it's heartbreaking. But what followed was something that hit me close to home. Here's this guy. I don't care if he's on parole or has tattoos. The guy, someone was quick to try to resolve this case to the point that they want to just nab somebody. And that reminds me of what happened with me, man. Here's this dude, fits the description, male Hispanic with no hair or whatever you're going to get.
You're in Southern California.
Come on, man. So it's again a reminder of how these things continue to occur and that they're still happening.
And how did you get out of jail? Like, what happened? Like, it took you 20 years, but eventually they cleared it, which doesn't happen to anybody. It doesn't happen because
So soon after I was convicted, I'm not sure if someone told me to do this or I just kind of started doing it, but I just started writing letters. Attorneys, organizations, 60 Minutes, everyone who I thought cared about my type of story or my case, they got a letter from me.
And you're 16 years old doing it, 17?
At this point I'm 18.
18, you're still 18. Very young.
I'm very young. My vocabulary is very limited, grammar is shot, but I'm trying. All I can do is attempt it. The actual fight of my life started where I started just trying to make some noise. Make some noise and be heard. And eventually it took 15 years of a consistent pattern of just not giving up that ultimately I got the help that I needed, which came through this woman named Ella Negers, who's an attorney from Sacramento.
And she got involved. She reopened your case and looked into it. And what did she discover? A lot of holes, a lot of flaws,
Oh, man. You know what? Just a list of things the sheriffs did bad. The evidence was just terrible. We can go on and on about this, man. But ultimately, Ella Negers got not only herself involved, but the Northern California Innocence Project, two great women by the name of Linda Starr and Paige Caneb, along with Morrison & Foerster, a huge international law firm who just believed in my case. And, these forces coming together, the Innocence Project, Ella Negers, and Morrison & Foerster, it was just a miracle, man. I mean, these things, are written about like for movies, man, but in this case, it was my life.
So, there you have it, Frankie Carrillo with his story. You could take a page from his book and never give up. For ESNewsReporting.com, I'm Ali Sekbak reporting.